So there's also types of first that not everyone has. They aren't universal first experience that everyone has. One experience that I had was my very first time rock climbing. How many of you have ever been rock climbing before? How many of you have never been rock climbing before? How many of you have been outside before? Okay, good. So rock climbing for me is actually something that I really enjoy. It's something that I love doing. And the very first time I actually got to go rock climbing was about 8 years ago. I was in San Diego and I was visiting a friend of mine named Troy and his wife Karen. And we were talking about what we were going to do one weekend, and they figured out that I had never been rock climbing before. So they decided, you know what, gotta go rock climbing. This is what we're doing. I got my first shock that day at 5 o'clock in the morning when I was woken up by Troy. He hands me a cup of coffee and he says, all right, man, time to go. And I'm like, what time? But again, I was all about having new experiences. So I said, okay, let's do it, let's go. And we get in the car and we drive to this place called Mission Hills. And we pull up. And I get out of the car, and I'm looking around, and it's this beautiful morning in the middle of the desert. Actually, we're right in the middle of this canyon, right in the middle of the desert. And it's just beautiful. I love it. I'm looking around, and this is great. It's nice, it's crisp, it's clear, it's beautiful. We're out here by ourselves. It's lovely. And I look up, and I had my second shot for the day. Because what I was standing next to was this huge, huge mountain. Now I get out my pack, and we start hiking up this trail. And it's steep. I mean, it's not, you can't go straight up this hill. You have to take one of these trails that goes back and forth, does the whole zigzag thing. And we must have been walking for 45 minutes. It's probably only like 15 minutes, but it felt like 45 minutes. And we finally get to the top, and I'm thinking, great, we're here. So I start taking off my pack. And Troy says to me, great, what are you doing? Well, I'm taking off my pack. We're going to set things up, right? I mean, we're going to do a little rock climbing. Well, actually, we got to set up a rope course because we're all about safety. You know, we're all about making sure we got everything together. So there's this trail, and we start walking again because the walking never seems to finish on this day. And we take this trail, and we end up getting all the way to the top of the cliff. And it's very, very squeaky cliff, apparently. And I have one of these moments. You could call it the third shock of the day, maybe, maybe not. But I had this moment where I'm standing there at the top of the cliff, and I'm looking out over this amazing view. And I can see the Pacific Ocean off in the distance. And their Mission Hills desert is spread out in front of me. The sun was rising off to the east. That was incredible. And then I made the mistake that every single person standing in a high place makes. I looked dead. Exactly. And he says to me, Greg, you know what? I know you're a little nervous, you're standing up high, but it's okay. You're going to be fine. You're going to have a great, great time. And Troy and I, we've known each other for a long time, so I trust him. I'm like, all right, you know, I'm probably just freaking out a little bit, so it's good. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And he has everything set up, and I'm ready to basically walk back down. So I'm like, okay, right, my time. For the second time, Troy looks at me and goes, Greg, what are you doing? So, well, I'm getting my pack. We're going back down. We're going to climb. Yeah, for sure. And he tells me about what's called rappelling. How many of you know what rappelling is? How many of you have no idea what rappelling is? Yeah, that was me on that day. I'm sitting there going, rappelling? What are you talking about? Is that some sort of like dunking technique or something? No. So he explains to me what it is. And basically the image that I have in my mind is of those U.S. Army commercials, you know, they talk about an army of one and these really buff big guys wearing camouflage and gloves, very serious looks on their faces. And they're like hopping down the sides of obstacle courses and they're just looking great and buff and everything. And I don't know if you looked at me recently, I'm just not that guy, you know. Here I am, at the top of this cliff, 6 o'clock in the morning, a very unflattering harness strapped to me now, and I'm about to go jumping off the side of the cliff. So, the way this works in rappelling is you have this piece of gear right in front of you in a very awkward position, and you attach a rope to it. This isn't actually the piece of gear, this is just a carabiner. As you can see, this is a wooden hole, but just so you know. And you take it, and you hold one end of the rope right by your hip. The other end of the rope is actually going up. And what you do is you just walk down the cliff backwards, right? So this is what Troy explains to me. So I'm standing here now, and I think to myself, I'm on the top of the cliff, standing kind of, you know, vertical. And what Troy's explaining to me is that I don't necessarily want to be in this position. I more want to be like in this position. And I have no idea how to get there. I have no idea what do I do, you know, to get from here to there. And Troy says to me, oh, that's the easy part. You just swing out. No, you don't just swing. I'm a mile up in the air on the top of this mountain. I have this rope attached to this thing. I don't know what any of this stuff does. And he's telling me, yeah, you just stand at the edge, you count to 3, and you swing off. So I say, okay. I get to the edge. I put my foot right there. I got the rope here, doing everything it says. Rope's attached there, rope's here. Okay, just count to 3 and swing off. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 2. Okay, okay. 1, 2. There is no way I'm doing this. There's no way. I'm going to just pack up my stuff. I'm going to walk down the trail. Troy, this is cool, right? I'm just going to take off, right? Great. This is what he says. He says, you're going to be fine. Everything that we've done so far today has had a purpose. It's had a reason. There's a reason why we got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. There's a reason why we hiked to the top of this mountain. There's a reason why I'm having you rappel down the side of the cliff before we actually do any rock climbing. Now, right now, it may not seem like you know exactly what the reason for this is, and when you get to the end of this experience, it'll make sense. You'll know exactly why you went through this, and you'll be all the better for it. So now, like I said, Troy's a good friend of mine. I'm also all about new experiences, so I believe him when he says that everything we're doing has a purpose. So I take a deep breath. Try it again. Rope here, hold it down. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And I swing out. And I'm now standing horizontally against the cliff. I can't believe it. I've done it. Took my breath away. And I'm looking up at Troy, and he's looking back at me going, you're doing it, man. Now just start walking backwards down the cliff. So I start letting the rope out a little, walking down the cliff. And then I start feeling a little good about it. I can do this. So I start letting the rope out a little bit more, like, down the cliff, like, oh yeah, I got this, all right, you know? And by this point, we're 3 feet down, and Troy's yelling, you got it, man, keep going, keep going. So I'm letting the rope out a little bit more. I am jumping down the cliff. I'm getting bumped, and you know what I realized? I am an army of one, darn it. I am one of these big buff guys. I just hopped down this cliff. I'm looking back what I did. It was like 300 feet, and I just came all the way down doing something that at the beginning, I didn't think I was going to be able to do at all. Now tonight, we're going to be doing a bunch of activities. We're going to be playing some games. We're going to be doing some different things that maybe in the moment you're going to be scratching your head going, I have no idea why Greg is having us do this. And what I'm telling you now is that everything that we're going to do tonight has a reason. It has a purpose. And even though in the moment of playing these games or doing these activities, you might not know exactly what that reason is or what that purpose is, but by the end, you'll know exactly what it is. And you'll be all the better.